Welcome to our explainer. Today we're diving into one of the toughest, most challenging narratives in the entire Bible, the final chapters of the book of Judges. And let me tell you, this isn't just a story, it's a shocking look at what happens when a society goes into a complete moral freefall.
This one sentence, you're going to see it pop up again and again. And honestly, it's the key to understanding everything. It's the diagnosis for the spiritual sickness that has completely taken over the nation of Israel.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll set the scene, and then we're going to walk through this whole thing, chapter by chapter, to see exactly how one personal tragedy spirals into a full-blown national catastrophe.
Okay, let's get right into it. To really get a grip on the chaos in these final chapters, you have to understand the time of the Judges. This was a time of, well, total fragmentation. Israel was basically just a loose collection of tribes with no real central government to speak of.
You know, when the text says there was no king in Israel, it's not really a political statement. It's a spiritual one. See, the real king, God, had been pushed aside. And in that vacuum, the law of the land basically became whatever I think is right. And the results of that, well, they're absolutely devastating.
All right, now let's get to the event that just ignites this whole powder keg. Chapter 19 introduces us to a Levite, that's a member of the priestly tribe, and his concubine, who is kind of like a secondary wife with fewer rights. Their journey home turns into a horrifying descent right into the heart of Israel's darkness.
So their trip gets off to a rocky start with all these delays, and it leads them to make a really fateful decision. They actually pass by a non-Israelite city because they think, hey, we'll be safer among our own people in Gibeah. But when they get there, just chilling indifference. Nobody will offer them a place to stay, which was a huge violation of ancient customs of hospitality.
After an old man finally takes them in, the unthinkable happens. The house is surrounded by the men of the city. In a truly horrifying scene, the host offers up his own daughter and the concubine to the mob. The Levite then pushes his own concubine outside, where she's brutalized all night and dies right there on the doorstep.
So what does the Levite do? In an absolutely shocking and desperate act to show everyone the evil that just happened, he dismembers her body and sends the 12 pieces to the 12 tribes of Israel. I mean, it is gruesome, but it's an undeniable message that something has gone terribly, horribly wrong in the nation. It's a silent scream for justice.
So here's the crucial takeaway from this first part. The men of Gibeah chose violence over hospitality. The Levite chose self-preservation over his duty to protect. It's just this chilling picture of a society where the most basic, fundamental moral duties have completely dissolved. And you know what? The Levite's horrifying message, it works. The other 11 tribes are absolutely horrified and they mobilize. We're talking 400,000 soldiers gathering to confront the tribe of Benjamin, which is where the city of Gibeah was located. And this, right here, is the moment of choice. The rest of Israel demands justice. They say, hand over the guilty men from Gibeah. But the tribe of Benjamin refuses. They choose tribal loyalty over national justice. They decide to protect murderers. And just like that, a horrific crime escalates into a civil war. Now, these three battles are really telling. The first time, even though they're on the side of justice, Israel attacks with pure self-confidence, and they get crushed. They attack a second time, and they're defeated again. It's only after they completely humble themselves, weeping, fasting, and actually seeking God's will, that they're finally given a strategy that leads to victory. But this victory, look at these numbers. It came at a horrific cost. Over 65,000 Israelites died fighting their own brothers. This wasn't just a battle. It was a deep, self-inflicted wound on the entire nation.
The tribe of Benjamin was almost completely wiped out. Out of more than 26,000 soldiers, only 600 men managed to escape and hide out in the wilderness. Think about that. An entire tribe was on the very brink of extinction.
The message from this war couldn't be clearer. When a community, a tribe, a nation chooses to protect the evil within its own ranks, the judgment that follows can be absolutely catastrophic, and it consumes everyone, the guilty and those who stood by them.
Okay, so the fighting is over, the dust settles, and the winners are left with a brand new crisis. In their righteous anger, they've nearly annihilated one of their own 12 tribes, and now regret starts to sink in. And to make matters worse, they'd made this rash vow before the war, swearing they would never give their daughters in marriage to any Benjamites. So now, you've got 600 survivors with no wives, which means they can't rebuild their tribe. They created a real mess.
And the solutions they come up with? Wow, they are just as morally corrupt as the problems they were trying to solve. First, to get wives, they massacre another Israelite city that didn't join the war. Then, they basically orchestrate a mass kidnapping during a religious festival. The cycle of violence just keeps on going. See what's happening? In their desperation to fix one problem, they just create more, using slaughter and deception to get their way. It shows that even if you have good intentions, human solutions without any kind of divine moral compass just lead you deeper and deeper into sin. They're still just doing what seems right in their own eyes.
So after this whole downward spiral of horror, from sexual violence to civil war to massacre and kidnapping, what is the book's final word? What's the ultimate message here?
The story ends exactly where it began, with this same haunting line. It's the final diagnosis, the root cause of the depravity, the war, the twisted solutions. It was all because they had rejected God's authority. This chaos wasn't an accident, it was the inevitable result. This ancient story is just a brutal, timeless case study. It forces us to ask what happens when a community loses its moral and spiritual center. And it leaves us with a really critical question. What guiding principles stop a society from spiraling into a place where everyone just does what is right in their own eyes?